Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Way Home Recap. This is a show where we like to recap Way Home Season 3. It's so exciting. We are here today. We're talking about episodes 2 and 3. Lots going on of this season. We want to hear what you think of the episodes. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Kristen Maldonado is here.
Hello! Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about these 2 new episodes.
Yes.
Some of them are pretty crazy.
Yes, there's so much going on. Mm-hmm. And it's just turned out to be, so far, a pretty good start to the season, I would say.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So we got tons to talk about, and we want to hear what you think, because there's so much in these episodes that we can't catch everything. Let us know in the comments your theories and ideas and things that we might have missed, and we definitely want to hear that. And want to make sure you check out our merch store. We love the pond shirts and more. We have more the Way Home inspired merch, so please take a look at that. We'd sure appreciate it. And it starts out, episode 2 is called The Way We Were. And the big thing in this episode is getting introduced to Vic and Rick. Well, in 1970s, we've met Vic, who's Elliot's dad, of course, in present, but we get to see little kid Vic and kind of a lot more backstory and context to what's going on there. So it's pretty interesting, and we get the opening sequence is Colton teaching Jacob how to write invisible words. Mm-hmm. So messages can be anywhere. You just have to look hard enough.
Yeah, it seems like it's that message that we saw in the book in the premiere.
Yes.
That was definitely Colton that wrote that. And, what is the secret messages going to lead to?
And so then Elliot, he says that he wants to go because I don't want to have to take care of you on top of everything else with Vic and everything. And so he's kind of struggling with this. And we see that Vic is calling, and then we know that Alice is in the 70s. So Alice, when she was thrown into the water, she ends up in the 70s.
Yeah. I think this is cool because you get to see so much more backstory in everyone, and I like getting a chance to learn about, how people became who they are. So, it's cool that in this episode we get to learn more about... I like that we get to learn more about, Elliot's family, too. It's not always just, this is what's happening with the Landrys. It's Vic and Elliot have always had a tumultuous relationship, and now we get to learn more of what was he like as a kid and why did he grow up to be like this.
And that me think, have we seen 2 people jumping before?
Alice
at the same time,
but then they got separated. Alice and Kat, but then they got separated.
Did they? Did they do it at the same time?
Yeah, they jumped together, and then remember the stuff in the water pulled them apart, and then one went to the 1800s and one went to the 90s.
Okay, I couldn't remember if they'd actually... I knew that they'd gone close, or I couldn't remember if it was literally jumping.
I guess Alice and Elliot too, because they had to go together to time travel back together, right?
Okay. Yeah, well, so it'll be interesting to see where the other person ended up and what's going on there. Because they went into the water at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam is saying that he says that he wants to publicly stand by Del's side. He doesn't want to be a secret thing, but she refuses. So again, there's something, I don't know. I think we're going to find out more about Sam. I think there's something there.
I hope so.
Yeah. Make sure you check out our recap of the premiere, because we talk a lot about Sam there, and some of these other things. You definitely want to listen to that, and I'll put a link down in the description. You definitely want to check that out, as well as you want to make sure our interviews that we did on both of our channels with the main cast, you definitely want to make sure you've watched that. So that's because that's a lot of fun. And so then Alice meets Vic. And Rick. And Rick Augustine is the older brother of Vic. and he's the one that gives the guitar to Colton.
Yeah, that's his best friend when they're young.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nice to see that, like, there wasn't always bad blood between the Landrys and the Augustines, and obviously something had to happen to start that, but, you know.
Yeah. Because they sort of implied almost that it goes back to Cyrus, like, way back. So, but it didn't. At least there was always this friendship between Rick and Colton.
And even Jacob and Susanna, you know, like, the Landrys and Augustines have always been friends. It's only, you know, with Vic that things aren't cool with them anymore.
Yeah. So then we have this introduction of this character, Evelyn Goodwin.
Mm-hmm.
And Evelyn, she's another candidate who I think could have been the person to... She could be a time traveler.
But she's a good one. Or you mean like she traveled with...
But so is Casey. Casey's a good one.
So I guess in my brain I've been keep theorizing that she's Alice's daughter. So in my head I'm like, oh well, she could probably time travel. She's really Alice's child, not daughter.
Yeah,
child.
Yeah, but they're clearly setting something up where Evelyn is interested in Colton. Colton is friends with her, but not really interested. And then is kind of intrigued by, we'll see later, intrigued by Dell. Dell's more of an introvert. And so there's sort of a different personality where Evelyn's sort of more like perky. And there's something going on with Evelyn. She's definitely going to figure into the story for sure.
Yeah.
You know, of something going on. She sees Alice. She mentions the Queen of Cups shirt that Alice is wearing. And so she's noticing details about Alice.
Yeah. And it seems like, you know, she likes that kind of stuff like tarot and so maybe she's interested in magic. And I guess that could connect to maybe having an interest in the pond or time travel down the line.
So then in present, Kat meets Jasper Coils. And she wants to find out more about what's going on, what happened with basically like Thomas's family.
Kat is in the 70s.
Oh, is she in the 70s? Is that where is Jasper?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got that confused. Sorry. So Kat meets Jasper Coils.
Yes.
And so she wants to know what's going on with, or what happened was the legacy of the story of like Thomas's family.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Alice meets Colton, and that was a fun moment.
Mm-hmm.
Young Colton. Yeah. And Alice tunes Colton's guitar. Mm-hmm. That was good.
It's cool to see her be there for like all these, you know, beginning moments of like being the guitar and then it being passed down to her eventually, and you know, that's like really special.
Yeah. Well, and this is where I started to kind of wonder about, wouldn't they have been in the pond a long time when they get back to present? It seems like they would have been in the pond a long time.
I'm like, who knows about the time, what it really means.
The space-time continuum.
Days, like, you know, who really knows? Yeah.
So they're looking at so Colton cleans the graves, and he says Elijah was strong, and there's Jacob Landry is on the grave. And Jacob talks to Colton's grave, so there's like lots of stuff going on with the graves.
Yeah. It's interesting because I feel like nobody's actually dead. Like, is Colton dead? I don't know. We saw that man at the end of season 2 and he was alive, so I don't know how that works. And then, you know, he's not dead. He time traveled, so who knows?
So then Jacob says, I miss my father, not that father, Elijah, my father.
Yeah.
So he's failing. I mean, I think we're going to end up with Jacob going back at some point.
You think?
Yes.
Maybe he'll try to go back and he ends up somewhere else.
That would be wild if he ends up at... I mean, I asked both groups that... I asked both Andy and Sadie and Kyler and Evan, I said, did the scripts in season 3 surprise you? And they were like, both of them were like, absolutely yes.
Wow.
So I wouldn't put it past them to some wild stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Jacob says, I wasn't a good person in 1814. I should have been arrested.
I mean,
I didn't choose to come home to you. I had to.
Oh yeah, he's telling Del.
Yeah. And so that's interesting that he sees himself in that regard.
I think he's being too hard on himself. I don't think that he feels all that. I think he's being a little too hard on himself. Maybe he feels down because he doesn't really have a path right now.
Yeah.
But, you know.
But also, like, Cyrus is really manipulative, so he may have kind of convinced him of things. And
yeah, that's true.
You know. And just like the fact that he wasn't able to save Thomas might be eating him up.
Well, he did save Thomas.
That from like Thomas was still like shot. Didn't he think that Thomas was dead?
Well, now he definitely knows he's not.
Yeah,
because Kat found out a lot of stuff, and we find out that Thomas has like a whole history of family and, you know, legacy. I mean, look, he got that guy in the 70s that's like his great somebody, great grand something, and even
that's
keeping the Coiling alive.
Know that now. I guess he does know that now, where he wouldn't have maybe in 1814.
Yeah.
Ho ho ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Like there's more where it says, will Colton and Evelyn end up together? Obviously not. We know that they won't. But Evelyn obviously is very interested what's going on with Colton and Evelyn. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's interesting. And then we have Vic coming back. He's found this woman he loves, and he wants Elliot to be his best man.
I'm a little unsure of what Vic's doing right now. Like, is he genuine? Is he, like... I mean, he's obviously seeking something, but is he also still trying to be genuine? Like, is he actually trying to turn over a new leaf?
Yeah, it sure doesn't seem like it by the end of these 2 episodes, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and then he's literally robbing from him, turning up the whole house, trying to find this ring.
Yeah.
And everything, so there's a lot going on. And so then Colton gives Evelyn the books, and she wants him to go to Morocco. And he says, well, what if magic happened there? You should go. And then he sees Del. Del is kind of friends with Evelyn, but...
not really friends, but...
Yeah, but then Evelyn says that she's an ice-cold fun killer.
Seems like jealousy.
Yes. And Vic tells Colton to go for it with Del.
I wonder if Del never showed up, if he would have ended up with
Or Rick.
Oh, Rick. Yeah.
Rick.
I wonder if Del never showed up, if he would have ended up with Evelyn.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. And Del is, she's kind of a stick in the mud. She's not that much fun.
She seems like a little closed off, like maybe she's, trying to get to a place where she opens up to people.
Yeah.
If they're if they're worthwhile to open up to.
And he says, I'm not like one of those boys back home. Yes. So then we have people confronting Kat about Susanna's book.
Yes.
So yeah. So then, and
Goodwin's.
Yeah, Goodwin. So Lewis Goodwin is Evelyn's son.
I wonder who
and
the dad
he's, what's that?
I wonder who the dad is.
Oh my gosh. And he's opening Goodwin Vineyards. And he's like, sounds like you have some issue with my family. We're rewriting our history. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jacob gets very upset and says, because I lived it.
Yeah, Jacob definitely is dealing with a lot of trauma. This man
Yeah.
needs some help.
He really does need some therapy.
He needs some help because, he's only, a few months out of all this stuff that he dealt with. So,
Yeah. Because I lived it.
Everyone's probably like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Sam tells Dell, I find I learn when listening, not talking.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Alice says, I have to leave. And
Wait,
Colton.
Sam, I find I learn when listening. Maybe he's hinting about how he's been listening in on everything.
Yeah. There's something with him for sure. So then Alice, she's like, I have to leave. There's Colton is like a mess with Dell. It's not going well. And then Alice is talking to Evie, and he says, you two can't walk home alone. So then Vic and Rick end up. Vic says, I can be your co-pilot. And so there's all this shenanigans happening, and then there's all this stuff happening, and then that's when Rick ends up getting in an accident at the beach and dying. So then everybody feels really bad, including Alice.
This is like the most important part of the whole episode, really, because there's so many layers of what's going on here. So it's like, and this is actually something that I talked about with Sadie, who plays Alice, in my interviews. But because in the first season, she is kind of responsible for Colton's death in a way due to a car accident, and in this, she sort of saved his life.
Well, that would be Kat who was responsible for his.
They were both. They were both together. It's because Alice was on the street, remember? And so.
Oh, okay.
So now Alice sort of saved his life when he was a teenager because she didn't let him go in the car with Rick, and it's sort of this like parallel of she helped him live a little bit longer, but then also was part of cutting off his life as well. And it's like the emotions and the feelings of like, I get more time with him, but also I know what's going to happen in the future. Like, but also does it even really happen? Because we've seen Colton. I don't know what happens. But
like, what's going on with Rick?
Yeah, and so now Rick has passed, and this also is definitely the catalyst of what made Vic such a harsh person growing up, losing his brother. So it really,
like, if Vic finds a way to use the pond and goes back and tries to save his brother.
You can't though, right? I mean, from what we've seen, it's like pretty impossible to actually like change the history.
That's true, because she tries to keep changing Jacob Bean.
They've been trying. But, there's a lot of layers there of just, like, this car accident led to...
But that doesn't mean he wouldn't try.
If someone's going to even show him how to do that, this man doesn't know how to time travel.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to show him, but he could find out.
And what, and, like, force them to take him?
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen it. Somebody pushes somebody into the water.
Mm.
I don't think that's Vic pushing Alice into the water. Because it wasn't like, he's a pretty big guy, and it didn't look like a big guy. But I don't know. There's something going on with Vic. We're gonna see.
Yeah.
And I
So
wouldn't
that-
be surprised if somehow somebody tries to kind of save Rick. Or there's something going on with Rick.
maybe the guys are trying to do that. Maybe young Colton's been trying to do that as well.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
But I just feel like that
Oh my
accident
gosh.
is like such a big.
What do you think about young Colton? Do you think he was a good casting? Do you think he looks like Jefferson?
I think so. I don't mind him. I think he looks like he fits the role, and he's got.
I was more convinced about that and less about young Dell.
Hmm.
She's not terrible, but she didn't really scream Andie MacDowell to me.
Hmm. Well, we've also, I think, have known Andie MacDowell for so long that, sometimes it's like you're seeing someone that you're like, oh, like when you see Joey King as a kid and then like someone playing a young version of her now, it's like, well, we know what she looked like as a little kid,
true.
So it's like, this doesn't look quite like that person, but.
Yeah, it's not a Groundhog Day or whatever. Yeah. That's a good point. We'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the new book, Zoe Brennan, First Crush by Laura Piper Lee. In Zoe Brennan, First Crush, a struggling vineyard owner, Zoe Brennan, gets a second taste of first love in a sapphic romantic comedy that sparkles with humor and heat. From Laura Piper Lee, author of the witty Hannah Tate Beyond Repair, Zoe's story is both a spin-off and a standalone novel with plenty of spice. You'll have a great time reading it. You can get it wherever you purchase your books or use the affiliate link below. That's Zoe Brennan, First Crush. Tells Alice, you've got talent. Maybe we can play together sometime. And then they say to Jacob, you're still that boy that loved his family. I want to be here and be an adult here. And then Dell tells Jacob about Sam. So what's going on? And Elliot then finally asks Kat to move in with him.
Seems confusing how they're gonna do all that because like she literally has a teenage daughter, but okay. I mean, live in two different houses.
Yeah, it's just they're in the same space, so like they're so close that I wouldn't think it would be too big of an issue, but yeah, that's definitely a point of conflict. So then Alice is back from time traveling, and she's fine with her moving in with Elliot, no problem. It says, seeing Colton so hopeful of his future when I know how his future ends, and then Rick dying at the beach, in an accident at the beach. Then Vic robbing Elliot. Just tell me where it is and we'll be fine. Your mother's ring. Whoa. Yeah. And then, we see young Colton coming out of the pot.
Yeah.
What?
They don't want us to believe he can time travel, but I mean, he has to.
Of course he can.
He has to know.
Yeah. That was wild. So, we'll see what happens. And he seemed like he was in kind of like it didn't seem like 1970s clothes.
You didn't think?
No, but that could just be me. But okay, so then Live and Let Die, episode 3. Colton, how did you know to find me here? And I went looking for you at the farm, and was everything okay there? Anyway, back and forth. And then I took off after the funeral. I wasn't thinking straight. It's a lot going on between Colton and then Vic. He's up like obsessed. He's called Elliot's ex-wife to get the ring. She never heard of it. And Elliot said, "You haven't changed at all." So, and then Kat says, I wish I knew what the pawn wants with Alice in 1974. And so there's a lot going on there. I mean, why do you think that Alice needs to be in 1974?
Well, I think it could be a couple of things. I think maybe there could be like the overall lesson of like getting back to her music, and realizing that like you don't have to, be serious yet. Like you can, continue that passion. And kind of they're taking her back to like literally when her grandfather got the guitar, and kind of having them unite together over their love of music. So it could be that. maybe there is some other secret thing that we're gonna learn that's gonna, reveal something big. Maybe something with Colton time traveling. And also just, maybe just getting a chance to go back and see the grandparents meeting and falling in love. Maybe she needs to help them in some way.
I think there's something that she's going to do with Evelyn. I think there's something going on there. There's going to be some way she's going to help Evelyn, or she's going to not help Evelyn, or there's going to be something going on there.
Oh, maybe in the long run. I wonder if, like, in the long run, what you said, helping or not helping, it could lead to either, like, finally having peace between all the founding families of this town, or maybe even being a part of causing more of a rift.
Yeah. Because, so Noah is a good one, right?
No.
So, but why would her child be Casey a Goodwin then? So, anyway, there's something going on between Alice and the Goodwins, and also with everything going on with Vic and Rick. And I know she's going to make some kind of difference there in the 1970s, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens.
It'll be that they all help each other, She helps them.
Yeah.
You get some music love back. Mm-hmm.
And so then we have Dell coming over to Vic's with, I guess, the Augustines coming over with a casserole.
Mm-hmm.
And food condolences.
Yeah, and I feel like Vic just, like, blames the land.
Yeah, and he says later that, you think, what does he say? Like, you solve all your problems with food?
He says when Colton's there, he says, like, he hates him and it should have been him that died.
Yes, so he says that, I hate you, I hate you, Colton, you should have been there instead.
Yeah. Messed up.
So then Vic saying, present day, you were saving it all around for Cat Landry.
The wedding ring.
Yeah.
So, okay, so...
And then his mom, she wore it all for 2 minutes before she ran off.
Oh, so Elliot's mom didn't really wear the wedding ring, and so...
And says, who would stay with you by choice?
Oof.
Yeah.
Because Vic's been traumatized by losing his brother.
Yeah.
If we could just find some compassion for Vic here, I think we would see that this man has been in it deep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's going to happen. I think...
Brother.
Yeah, I think something's going to happen between Vic and Rick and Elliot. Whole thing.
Yeah, I could see, if Vic blames Colton and is like, you should have been there with my brother since you weren't, this is why this happened, and then being like, now I hate the Landry family, and, you've just been saving that wedding ring that I had for her, and, for his daughter, and, having this deep rivalry, like, I guess not rivalry, but like bitterness towards this family, when it wasn't their fault. How was Colton supposed to know, or Alice supposed to know that that they were going to lose Rick? That was his best friend. I'm sure if they knew, they would have tried to save him, and I wouldn't be surprised if we find out later on young Colton's been trying to go back to save him if he could.
Yeah, but if somehow Vic finds out about the pond, then he would be even more bitter. Like, you had the ability to time travel, and you didn't save him still.
It's like, maybe he might not.
Like, I saw you, Alice, when I was a kid. I saw you.
Oh, yeah. And then they try to explain, well, we can't change the past. But then he maybe doesn't get it.
That could make him even more bitter.
Whoa!
So Elliot tells him to get out. And we see the scene with them watching Vic as a kid in the hearse. Yeah, and he sees her, and he's very sad.
Maybe that is a foreshadowing that he's going to be like,
yeah. So then Evelyn has feelings for Colton, and Colton gave her this book with that has the message in it.
Yeah.
If there's magic to be had, you can't just let it pass you by. And Colton tells Alice, maybe I'm alive because of you.
I mean, for now. Oh no! No. Yikes!
So then Dell sees Alice and Evelyn getting close. So there's that, and then Dell tells tells Sam, and then Alice leaves after the announcement of moving in. So that's when they get us things, and after the announcement of Kat moving in with Alice, and I don't see how you can abandon your daughter. So it's becoming this point of conflict, even though they're so close to each other.
Yeah, but it is kind of weird. Like, you're just gonna move in with your boyfriend and leave your daughter at a different house? That's kind of silly.
Yeah.
If anything, Elliot should just move in.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe give Jacob his house. Let Jacob have his own life.
Oh, that'd be a good solution.
Yeah,
that would be good. Okay, so then, so it turns out, so there's 2 books. Turns out the books are meant to go together, and when they do the test, it says, to Evie, no curses on you if you stay. The water did save us. I believe in it now. There is magic at home. Come back to, and to the pond. Love, Cole.
So something happened.
So Evie, at the very least, knows about the pond. Even if she hasn't used it, she knows about it.
Yeah, maybe they.
I mean, I guess unless she never saw this message.
Well, yeah, I guess she didn't see the message.
But it says the water did save us.
So maybe they. Ooh, do you think maybe it's something like they fell in the pond, they were drowning or something, and then someone else came up through the pond and like saved them, and
saved them?
Like someone that was time traveling.
Water did save us. I believe in it now. So
at home.
So she thinks, obviously at one point she thinks that she's been cursed.
Yeah.
By the pond. Why does she think that? Colton knows that, has put it into this message, and evidently there was a point where he didn't believe, and we've seen these scenes of like his grandma and stuff telling him about the pond. So there was a point where he didn't believe it. But he believes it now. I believe in it now. There is magic at home. Come back to the pond.
I mean, something happened.
Yeah. There's something with Evelyn and the pond and Colton. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. So Alice said, should I help your dad somehow? And Jacob, and so then Jacob goes to the market, and he's like a celebrity. Everyone coming.
Yeah.
Up to him and everything.
Is this when he reunites with Danny?
Yes.
That was nice. I was glad that they brought him back, because he didn't have a huge role, but obviously that's probably a lot of trauma to be like, I was there when my best friend went missing, and it's my we've seen that Danny has thought it's his fault. So for him to finally be able to reconnect with Jacob and learn it wasn't really his fault, I'm sure that took a lot of weight off of him.
Push me in the water. So we find out Danny is working at Lingermore, where they had that whole plot last time. Where that's where the painting is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
If we're actually going to hear a little bit more from Danny, there's something going on with him. or if this is just kind of a check back for the character.
I don't know. I felt like a check back of just like, let's resolve that guy's trauma so that he can be like, oh, thank God, like it wasn't my fault. Now we can move forward. But who knows? Maybe they'll keep him around. Maybe it'll
said he's working there just made me think, okay, well, what's going on?
Yeah. It could be a good way to give Jacob somebody else in his life to talk to and have a friend again, and maybe do something different than just like, only be working on the farm and that's it.
Yeah. So there's this woman named Rita who's selling signs next to their booth. Is like passive aggressive and
she used to be friends.
Yeah. So that's interesting going on. And so Noah is selling coffee on the fish and chips truck. And Alice goes and is helping him out. Working, and they're like flirting banter between them. Yeah, so they think he offers Alice a job, and so then we have a scene with Dell bringing biscuits to Vic, and Vic says, "Landry still thinking food can fix everything."
Yeah, well, they've all hurt each other because, it was his fault that they didn't get to resolve things with Dell and Kat earlier because he never gave them that letter. So, this can't we just all let bygones be bygones and move on? Everybody's done the wrong thing at the wrong time at some point.
Yeah, she says, you ruined my chance to make amends with my daughter years ago, and you have failed over and over again. And if you say a discouraging word against Elliot, you'll be sorry.
Oh, yeah. And then Elliot was happy because, the Landrys are like his family. So, he had Colton and now Dell. That was always there for him.
That was amazing, Elliot says. And then we see this woman in the forest saying boo.
And we're back in the 70s now, right?
Yeah, the 70s.
Yes.
And then... So that's Colton's grandma?
Yes, Fern.
Yes. And then we had Grandma Fern, that she used to tell stories. And it's so nice to see someone using the pond again. Oh. If you want the right answers, you must ask the right questions.
What are the questions? What do we need to know?
So then Kat sees Colton and Evelyn. It's like, what is happening here? And Jacob tells Danny, don't work for the Goodwins.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That man has a lot of trauma, so that's why.
And then Jacob tells Dell, I do not need your permission to leave this house.
He's standing up for himself.
Yes. And Elliot gives his dad Rick's shirt. Rick was the golden boy. And I'm not sure, what did I mean? Rick lost control socking Vic.
Elliot. Maybe
I'm not sure what I meant socking.
Maybe Elliot. Did Elliot punch him?
Did Elliot punch Vic? I think maybe that's what I meant. Lost control. It's too late to fix it now. So Elliot gives him the ring. You should be the one.
Well, yeah, because I think, it was like Vic said, you know what, you should be the one to carry on the family legacy, keep the ring, but then he still takes it anyway, and he's like, man, Vic.
Right, okay.
Do the same thing over and over.
And Jacob gets drunk, and he says, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
Noah says, I never stopped thinking about you, and we get a kiss between Noah and Alice.
I'm telling you, Casey's coming. Maybe when they're older, that'll be their child. I don't know.
And then, I kind of wondered if they were going to find some bizarre way to make Casey somehow related to what's his name she was in love with in the 70s. I can't remember his name. Not the 70s, the 90s. Who she was in love with in the 90s.
Oh, Nick?
Nick. Was it Nick? couldn't remember his name, but if they were going to make it somehow tied into that.
It's Rick and Vic.
Oh my gosh.
That would have been interesting. I don't know how they would connect them, but
because he does know that he knows about Alice.
do you think he's going to come back? I wonder. Or do
I
you
wonder
think they
too.
resolve the story? I was thinking that, like, just like how Alice has been time traveling back and meeting her parents and her grandparents, that, like, what if there is someone like Casey who is her child and is traveling back and seeing their parents meet for the first time? That's why I'm like, oh, is that Alice and Noah's child? Because, like, how are they the only ones time traveling? Like, there must be tons of Landrys time traveling all the time, and we just don't always see it. Like, they have like, if time is all at once, like, there's generations and generations and generations and generations of Landrys that could be time traveling.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for, like, someone that we see that, like, we thought this whole time is just, like, maybe they've been there the entire time as a random person, and then it's like, oh, no, wait, that whole time they were a time traveler. That's what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I think we're going to see that. We know that there's the person whoever was that pushed her in the water. There's somebody out there. So it's going to be interesting. I just looked on Carrie James's IMDb. It doesn't show any new episodes, but you never know. Because he played grown-up Nick. So who knows? But let's see here. Then we have the next morning, Vic is gone with the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that in 1965, there was a town vote to fill in Landry Pond.
Well, clearly didn't go through, but...
So it didn't go through, but who was behind that?
Well, because this is before the 70s when we see them, so maybe that has to do with Evelyn being scared that, like, something in the pond was dangerous, or she was cursed, or, maybe she almost got hurt.
Yeah.
And we could fill this pond, and I don't know how they stopped it, but...
I think we're definitely going to be going to 65 at one point. Somebody's going to 65.
Oh... Yeah, I guess right?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So, anyway, let us know what you think. There's so much going on. I'm sure there's stuff we missed. I tried to take as detailed notes as I could, but there's so many clues and so many things, and that's part of the fun of this show. So for both these episodes, we want to hear what you think about this message from Colton. What's he trying to say to Evie? What's Evie's role in all of this? What's going on with Alice and Casey? Who's the mysterious person who pushed her into the water?
I feel like Casey hasn't even shown up yet, and I'm still suspicious. I'm still suspicious of them from season 2.
Yeah, what is Vic's role in all of this? And Rick and his death and yeah.
What was your favorite part of these 2 episodes?
I did really enjoy getting to see Thomas again.
the first 3. I want to go back.
Or I guess that was in the first episode. My favorite one in these, I think my favorite is probably seeing Jacob's arc, and just be and when they have the reveal of of Alice on that in this opening set. The reveal of Alice on the record is pretty fun.
Yeah, that was cool.
So I don't know. What about you?
Is more darker, but I thought the Rick's death, well, it wasn't a good moment, but it gave a lot of layers to a lot of things, of like why Vic is how he is, the layers of, Alice sort of saving but also cutting off Colton's life, like, those kinds of moments. I'm just like, wow, that's so deep, bro. That's crazy. So that was like definitely a moment that stood out to me, like shocking.
Well, and just when they reveal the full message, like that was so like, what?
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued. So there we go. That is everything. These 2 episodes. Let us know what you think in the comments section. And Kristen, thanks so much for doing this. And where can people follow you?
Thank you for having me. It's always fun talking the way home. You can find me everywhere at Kaymaldo, Kaymaldo, or on my website at popcultureplanet.net.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod, Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really, really, really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Most of our viewers are not subscribers. So if you're in that camp, please subscribe. It really helps the algorithm a lot. And we have our merch store where you can get Way Home inspired merch. So please take a look at that. It helps us so much. And we have the Patreon group, which we have watch-alongs, and we have our Facebook group, chance to talk about all of these things. So please take a look at that. We really try to make it worth your investment. And so there's all that going on. And we will talk to you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Bye.